My name is Chris and you're watching Backyard Gardening. Today I'm going to show you how to dig and divide a perennial. Now a perennial, of course, is a plant that comes up every year in your garden. And every year it comes up, it gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And eventually it gets crowded in. And really, most of the times, a clump of perennials is actually made up of a bunch of different individual plants of the same, mother plant. And they're all kind of clumped and they're all huddled together and they're growing. And eventually you get less vigor in the plants because they're competing amongst themselves for nutrients in the soil. So what you do is you dig and divide them, and what that means is you dig the plant up and then you literally cut it apart into different divisions, and you can plant one division back in the original hole, and the other ones are basically free plants, free money, which everyone likes, and you can plant them in different places in your garden, expanding the number of plants you have. You can trade them or give them away to families or friends, or even plant them in public parks like I do sometimes, just to make the community more beautiful. And it's really easy to do, and on a lot of plants, especially daylilies, which I will show you today, it is almost impossible to mess up. Daylilies, you can't hurt them, and it's quick, it's easy, and it will help your plants grow. And what's more, by doing it, you actually also increase the amount of plants that you get in the future. If you have a clump of daylilies, their growth is going to slow, and they're going to start getting less big every year that they're still in the big clump form. But if you take that clump and you divide it into 20 plants, as you can, then those plants will grow a lot more vigorously when they're all planted newly in the soil. And over the years, the number of actual daylily plants that you have in your garden, or that you're able to plant elsewhere or give away, will vastly increase if you do the digging into divisions regularly. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to do it. So this right here is the plant that I'm going to dig and divide today. This is an all fired up daylily, and I'm actually moving today, or I'm not moving today, I'm moving soon. And I want to take this plant with me because it's one of my favorite daylilies. It's orange and yellow and red, and it's big. It's called All Fired Up, and I want to take it with me to my new house so I don't lose it in this garden. So this is the clump I'm going to dig and divide today. The first thing you do is you just dig it up. It's really easy. If your soil's loose like mine, you can just do that, and you can kind of grab it here and shake some of the dirt off, and you can tell I've not done this in many years. This clump is very old. Look how big that is. It's huge. It's like the size of a giant pumpkin. And look at all the plants around here. This is all the same daylily, and this is the first step. All you have to do is dig it up, and you get the clump of roots like this. You can kind of see the roots hanging out there, and then you can take it somewhere and you can cut it up further, which is what I'm going to show you next. So I'm back, and here's my big clump. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use a knife and just indiscriminately cut across like you're cutting up a pizza, or you can use a shovel to cut across like you're just dividing it up, and you're gonna lose some plants that way. Or the best way is to just tease it apart. So by that I mean you just kind of get in there with your fingers and you kind of just pull it apart. Once there was one plant, now I have two, and if I keep going I can get even more. And you just kind of work it over, and they will separate. Here is a double fan. There's one. There's another plant. That's three. And get these apart. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I still have all this to go. So I'm going to keep doing this, just tearing the plants apart with my fingers, teasing the individual root sections apart, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do afterwards, which is going to be potting up the individual plants for moving. Okay, so what I have here, I have my clump, and I have a tray of 3-inch pots. And 3-inch pots are kind of small for daylilies, but I'm going to be moving these when I move, and I don't really want to have to move, because I'm moving more than just this plant. I'm moving lots of plants with me, and I don't want to have to move a bunch of big pots. So I'm just going to plant these in these 3-inch pots for now, even though it's going to be a little crowded on the roots, and just for easy of moving. If you were going to pot these up, I would at least use like a 6-inch pot probably, you know, for a longer term storage. But ideally what you would do is you would just plant these immediately in your garden, give them immediately to a friend to plant in the garden, or you can even mail them if you want to mail them. A lot of people will sell these on eBay or things like that, and you can mail them to someone to plant. If you were going to mail it though, you would just want to dry it out really good, the roots, and then cut off most of this top growth here so that the plant stops respirating as much and it doesn't dry out in shipping. So all you do is, and I'm preferring the smaller ones because I've got these smaller pots, is you just plant them in your little 3-inch pots just like you would anything else. And daylilies, see these big roots on here on the daylilies, these tubers? You don't have to baby them. They're very, very strong because they have all this energy stored in these tubers here, so they can take this kind of rough transplanting and it's not going to hurt the plant long term. A lot of other plants you really can't do that with, but daylilies or any other plant with kind of a tuberous root like that, you can generally just kind of abuse and they will be fine. So what I'm going to do is I have 18 holes here in my pots, and I'm going to go ahead and put 18 daylilies in here, and I'll go ahead and let you know when I'm all done with that and we can move on to the final step. So I'm all done planting now, and I actually had a lot left over. I could have done a whole nother tray of these. It's just so nice getting so many free plants. This plant I think was like 12 bucks when I bought it originally, and now if I really wanted to get right into all my clumps, I could get maybe 40, I'm guessing, out, and you know, that would be, you know, several $100s in value there. So it's certainly exciting to be able to grow your garden like this in a free and economical way. So they're all planted, but there's one more thing I need to do. Now you remember I said if you're going to ship these, you're going to want to trim some of the top growth off so the plant doesn't respire as much and lose as much water. That's true, but even if you're not going to ship them, if you're going to be planting them in small pots like this, or just there's this much growth on it, you know, always you want to cut some of that growth back, just to give the plants a little chance to get their roots reestablished before they start needing to pull up so much water from the soil. Especially considering these pots are so small, water is going to be restricted for them. So all I'm going to do is take my shears and go through and cut them about 6 inches above the soil, every single plant. And that will make it much more orderly. For one, it looks like a jungle up here right now, but also that will allow the plants to spend more time reestablishing the roots and less time trying to support all their leaves that they have. Now you can do this kind of dividing that I've done anytime really. You can do it in the fall, you can do it earlier in the spring. I'm kind of in late spring right now, so the plants have not flowered yet, but they're getting kind of big. It's a little easier to do it earlier in the year. I did some other plants, I've been busy, but if you had done it you know, earlier in the year, around the time the tulips are coming up and things like that, that's a great time to do it when the crocuses are coming up. Just you want a little bit of green to be coming out of the roots, but as minimum as possible, because a little bit of green will allow you to tell which each one's a plant. It makes it easier to divide. If there's no green on the roots, it's like it's hard to know which root section actually has a plant growing out of it. So if you do it just when the plants are just starting to peek up out of the soil, that's the best time to do it. And these plants right now aren't going to look too good. I mean, if you look at them, I've given them all a haircut here. It doesn't look too great, but don't worry, they're going to bounce back. They'll have new growth here in a week, and you know, in 6 to 8 weeks when I move, which is a scary thought, I'll be planting these in a permanent home in my new garden. And instead of having one plant, I will have 18, and that will be a great thing. I didn't have to pay anything for these. So that is how you dig and divide daylilies. If you need any help or have any questions, you can go ahead and leave a comment. Thanks.